I'm Harrison Wise. I'm your host today for FOAFing Around With, and today we are FOAFing around with Aileen Cahill, an omnichannel and digital leader and fractional CMO and new member of the FOAF network. Welcome, Aileen.
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 Thank you. Thank you for having me, Harrison. I'm excited to join the illustrious group of FOAFers. A lot of super smart people that can bring their intellect and their experiences to bear.
Yeah, we have quite a deep bench across a lot of different disciplines, and it is great to collaborate with the talent that's in the network, yourself included. So welcome.
Well, thank you. And you know, the problems companies and our clients are facing today are not they're pretty retractable, right? They're multifaceted, and having such a deep bench on the FOAF team means we can curate bespoke teams that are specific to that client's needs and challenges, which I think is really where we need to head.
I totally agree. So just tell us a little bit about your background and experience.
Well, I'm a behavioral scientist through and through. So with a degree in applied behavioral analytics before there was ever such a thing as marketing science. So I think the key thing is to use those insights, and I grow companies by helping them focus on their customers instead of themselves. So many companies are so focused internally on their own stuff that they really forget about the customer. Why does the customer need your product? Why would they use it? What are their, there's this notion in human-centered design. What are their jobs to be done? What is it they're trying to achieve? And how can you make their lives easier in achieving that? And stickier, because sticky is profitable, right?
Sticky is profitable. That's right. For the long term. Yes.
Right.
It's like, what kind of FOAF are you? What the FOAF are you? As you like to say, like, what kind of fractional CXO, do you most identify as, I guess?
Well, I'm definitely a Swiss Army knife. So I grew up in brand management at Hershey, Pepsi, and ConAgra. And I've also had an illustrious strategy consulting career with Monitor Group, Carney, and others. So it's really about knowing what you don't know and calling in the network of folks that you trust when, I'm a T-shaped person. I know a lot about digital. I know a lot about customer experience and omnichannel and marketing. And then I reach out to my network to tap into all the rest of the expertise you need to grow the client's business.
Awesome. So explain that to you a little bit more. So you have like wide experience and then you go deep in a certain vertical, or?
Yeah, not a vertical. I'm wide across every industry. In fact, I don't think there's an industry I haven't worked at. I'm super deep in CPG, retail, travel, and healthcare, and then have worked in pretty much every other industry. But really, it's about taking the omni-channel marketing. And then I've brought over 30 new products to market and invented new mathematical techniques. So taking the strategy and the innovation to go with the marketing, and then this whole behavioral and analytics has to be data-driven. It can't be my opinion versus your opinion. It has to be data-driven. And I say it's not the size of the data that matters, it's how you use it, right? And that's a double entendre meant to be funny. But, when you do customer segmentation, it always comes down to 9 to 15 variables that differentiate your customer segments. And it's different industry by industry, product by product. For the love of God, figure out what those 9 to 15 variables are and drive your business using them.
Like, what do you say to folks who kind of, insist that niching down is sort of, where everybody needs to be or where you need to be as a fractional executive?
I couldn't disagree more. And I'll tell you why. There's what I call the customer experience conundrum. And what you have is everybody, as you say, niching down, which is a new term to me. I've never heard that. So thank you for my lesson of the day. But you have somebody doing social media and they reported to me and they were, and they're checking the box. They did these posts. Then you have somebody else doing search engine marketing, another person doing email marketing, so on and so forth. Somebody else building the website. And before you know it, what you have is a customer cacophony. You have all these people, very well-intentioned and excellent at their niche,
Right.
just blasting stuff at the same customers time and time again. And we're creating our own noise. And so my thesis is that we need to create a customer symphony, not a cacophony. And for that, you need to have this overlayer, this interstitial layer of customer experience. And whether you call it, the chief customer experience officer, something, you need to have a C-suite responsible individual and group for bringing that together and turning the cacophony into a symphony. And niching down is not the way to get there.
And variety is the spice of life. I mean, let's be honest, right? So I'm a naturally curious person myself. So for me, that breadth of experience is also just a natural byproduct of my own curiosity and desire to learn about different industries and apply my skill set to those industries.
Well, and if you take a customer lens to it, you look at the customer journey and you say, okay, they're at a decision point whether or not they're going to use us again or they're going to go try something else new. What is, for this customer, Harrison Wise, what is the best channel and what is the best message at this time? And that's, you can't do that if you're niching down. You have to understand preferences and communication styles and develop content that is specific to certain customer cohorts.
In that context, what would you say are the most ideal projects that you're looking to be involved in, based on kind of what you just shared?
Well, I'm a glutton for punishment. So I want to do digital transformation because embedded in that is you have to do a lot of process reengineering. You have to clean up some sandbox issues. The website can't be built by democracy because then it's 365 pages and no visitors could ever find what they wanted. So, the big enterprise transformations are hairy, and I like the hairy, messy projects.
Or what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about fractional?
Well, I think, fractional is because they can't afford headcount, or fractional is because they don't really see value in that function. Mm-hmm. What I see is there's a lot of really smart people, especially in small and medium-sized businesses, but they don't know what they don't know. And so having a C-suite coach helps keep them accountable. So what I think is one of the best benefits of having a fractional or fraction of a fraction is it helps the leaders of the company, instead of being consumed by working in the business, which is the day-to-day tactics, it gives them the discipline to work on the business as well as in the business. And that's where I think a lot of the small and medium-sized businesses kind of fall off the rails. Mm-hmm. They forget to work on the business and to keep reinventing and pivoting and being agile. You can't say, here's what I do and this is what I'm going to do all the time for the rest of eternity. You have to be agile and evolve as a company to meet customers where they are, whether they're B2B or B2C.
From your perspective, what does a successful fractional hire look like? And how does that CEO or founder kind of measure that success?
So I just think back to a particular client I had where I worked with them for 2.5 years, and I worked 1 to 2 days a week for 2.5 years, right? So that's pretty fractional. And you build that trusted relationship. And so building that type of collegial collaboration where you have the rapport and you can tell the emperor, I'm sorry that you have no clothes, but I know a great tailor. Let's go see him or her. I'm not calling your baby ugly without giving you a solution. But if you hired me to, tell you what you want to hear, that's not a good use of your resources.
Sure. Are there specific problems that you're helping your clients solve? Like what is that specific challenge that they need, help with? what are some of those most ideal scenarios, again, in your domain of expertise?
Well, I think helping companies get unstuck. And so I've worked with companies that are, 600 million and stuck, or 30 million and, declining, and helping them get unstuck really revolves around the value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
What is it they represent to their customer? When I was working at Pepsi, I was responsible for selling soda to schools, right? And all the administrators felt like they were selling their souls to the devil, providing sugar water and caffeine to students in exchange for scoreboards. But what I heard in talking to the administrators and the superintendents was their biggest concerns were the arts were being cut. Well, Pepsi has one of the largest corporate art collections of any company in the United States, if not the world. So took their collection and put together 2 tractor trailers of art for a roadshow for students in middle schools and high schools. Certainly be it. But knowing that here we had this underutilized resource that our customer schools would like, there's a way to match capabilities and resources with needs. You just have to be creative. Yeah, I've worked probably equally with Fortune 500 companies and startups, and the startups reach inflection points and get stuck, and they need to get unstuck. The larger companies that I've worked with, they have to stop resting on their laurels and thinking about how successful they are, patting themselves on the back. Aren't we great? Just because you did it that way for 30 years doesn't mean you should still be doing it that way. For instance, the internet has happened, big data has happened, artificial intelligence has happened. Just a few minor little things you might want to consider in how you go to market.
What are some of your favorite AI tools, right, that you're using right now, if any?
Well, I'm dabbling with a lot of tools, and I was at a chief data officer conference yesterday, and we were all guffawing at this, like, oh, AI, it's the new greatest thing. Since the 80s, lots of us have been building models, predictive models, next best offer models, selection models. So, artificial intelligence can't really be artificial. It has to be augmented intelligence, because at the end of the day, the intelligence is only as good as the human who is writing the models and their knowledge of the subject matter expertise, right? So my first iteration of my Apple Watch, whoever wrote the downhill skiing app knew nothing whatsoever about skiing. Because every time I would get on the lift line, it would ask me if I wanted to end my exercise. It's like, no, I'm on the East Coast. It's, 20 minutes of exhilaration followed by a half an hour of a lift line. If I was on the West Coast, it would be 40 minutes of exhilaration followed by 10 minutes of a lift line. But artificial intelligence is nothing new. We've been building intelligence into models that we've been building for many, many years. Let's keep in mind that it needs to be augmented intelligence. And I'm excited because not just the preponderance of tools. I mean, I don't get this stage in the game with, Scott Brinker's MarTech map, having over 5,000 different things on it. I'm not so excited by any particular shiny new object. I'm Switzerland when it comes to tools. I want to figure out how to best use them for my clients.
So I would say, so based on what I'm hearing, you're more excited than concerned about AI.
Oh yeah, I can stop doing drudgery and start doing important stuff that matters. And, thinking is sometimes you spend so much time in what I call administrivia, whether I actually want to think versus time to make the donuts.
Right.
And I think augmented intelligence helps humans make the time to think. And back to this notion of working on the business versus in the business.
That's right. And applying the other AI, actual intelligence, to solving problems, right? The original AI.
Yeah, actual intelligence. I like it. Are you going to?
AI 1.0, actual intelligence,
Right. Are you going to register that after this call?
I might actually. The more reaction I get like yours, I'll certainly jump on it.
I think it's great.
Anything that you wanted to share that we didn't already cover off on?
Well, I think the only thing that we haven't talked about is the devil being in the details. So I told you I like these big, hairy, bodacious goals of enterprise transformation, digital transformation, omni-channel. But as soon as you get under that platitude, starts the hard work, right? And it needs to be cross-functional. So that's why I love running agile teams. You have the decision makers right there. And so, embrace agile is something I would say first and foremost. Experiment your way to brilliance. This whole of set it and forget it is gone. You have to do fast cycle, test, measure, and learn, and keep cranking out tests and have a learning agenda so that the organization is evolving and getting smarter. It's not just a one-off test that 5 people know about. Effectiveness, get rid of half the meetings on your calendar and you'll make a lot more money.
We'll all be better off for that. A lot of clients, in my experience, not all, but there are many who are, especially in this environment, who are just so afraid of losing their job or just making that mistake that they don't test, they don't experiment, they're not being brave in terms of breaking through the sort of same old standard, strategies and tactics that they've used before.
So I love the question, and I'll answer it in 2 parts. First of all, growth never came from a place of fear. Entrepreneurs are not fearful. That's why they're successful. Okay?
Well, the successful ones are not. The successful ones are not afraid, right?
Well, there's this whole notion. I've sat on incubator boards, part of Techstars. I mean, fail fast and fail often.
That's right.
If you don't fail, it means you're not really trying to do anything different. And
100%.
back to I'm a skier and I love skiing. If I don't fall, I wasn't pushing myself hard enough. Right? You can be in the safety space of that Dunkin' Donuts commercial, time to make the donuts, and be happy chugging out last year plus 1%. I don't find that professionally rewarding, and I'm shocked that anybody does. So finding the bold new grounds requires testing. And so you don't have to fall on your sword and implode your career to do so. So I'll give you a concrete example. I had a recent client who's spending $10 million on display advertising. Okay. It's in the healthcare space. Right. So I suggested he stop display advertising. And of course, I deliberately was playing devil's advocate it's like, well, I can't do that. What if I lose a sale? It's like, well, let's pick a test. Let's pick New England where you don't do it, or let's be bold and pick east of the Mississippi where you don't do it. But you have to start with a picket fence test, a pilot, proof of concept. Oh, look, we didn't spend all that money and sales didn't take any hit. So do small proofs of concept. And then what you find is other people, whether it's a new stopping doing something is the hardest thing for companies to do.
Well, what are you most excited about for the year ahead? So we're kind of coming up on the end of 2023. What are you excited about for the year to come?
Well, I would love to implore everybody in the throes of strategic planning to actually take a step back and think strategically as opposed to last year plus whatever percent, and investigate blue ocean strategy approaches. Investigate what is the impact of blockchain going to be on your business model? How and where can we deploy augmented intelligence or actual intelligence? And to really get out of the copy paste mode that I see a lot of corporate leaders in, and to step out of the comfort zone. And having permission to fail is as much a cultural phenomena as it is an alignment of metrics. So as a management consultant for many years, when I see quirky behavior, the first place I go is to the metrics and the reward system, because by and large, at the end of the day, people are rational and do what they're measured and rewarded on.
Right. 100%. Well, Aileen, it was awesome FOAFing around with you today. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us.
Thanks, Harrison.